Hey guys, it's Jeff Hartman, the Neptune Man, and today we're going to look at the F35 Air. So if you've got a Whirlpool-based washer, it could be a Maytag, Epic, Whirlpool Duet, a Kenmore Elite, and you get this F35, well that usually means you have a issue with your water level sensing, okay? And the machine, it has to know what the water level is so it doesn't overfill your machine, okay? Because you don't want water coming out of the door. So it has to know exactly how much water is in there, also to save water. When you first power up the machine, it fills up a certain amount of water, and just to see how much water gets soaked up by the clothes. Because the more water goes down and it senses that level, means you've got a heavier load or you're doing heavier clothes, you know, towels or pants or something. So it needs to know how much load you have. So if we go look at that, the two major causes for the F35 Air are this CCU and the APS, which is this little black doohickey back here. And this will have a hose connected to it. You'll see a hose going down off the bottom. And also be a connector, which ultimately goes to this thing, the PS8 connector. So we're only interested in the CCUs that look like this, okay? It could be different color. They got gray, they got tan. I've seen different colors, but it's got to have this shape. We got this little hump right here, okay? This little protrusion. So what causes this thing is it could be one or this one or that one, and I'll tell you a little later how you can kind of tell which one it is. So the APS, you can actually take out the APS and hook it to a 5-volt power supply and then check it. And when you put 5 volts into it, you should get 0.38 volts. Okay. If you don't have this is a 5 volt, this is an adjustable power supply I had laying around on my bench. If you don't have an adjustable power supply or a fixed one, you can also, we'll look at the APS at the CCU. This is the PS8 connector. You got some fingers down here, these little copper pads that go out to the edge of the board. You can get your meter on these, and then you can take a reading, okay? But let's talk about the different types of sensors, okay? We've got, this is inside the actual APS. This is what it is. This is the hose that ultimately, there's a real small hose inside that box that actually takes it to the fitting on the actual plastic housing. And then ultimately that pressure gets to the sensor, okay? And this is the surface mount sensor. It's got these little pads that come flat, and it's just sitting on these pads on the board, okay? That's the surface mount. I have that kit, okay? I have these sensors. Now this one here is the through hole. It actually has the pins come down and they go right through the board, okay? That's the through hole. I don't have this one yet. This is a square chip. I've been working on this kit and I don't have it available. If you want to know if I have it available, just go to f35air.com and see if it's there, and that means it's available. But 99% of the failures with the APS are the sensor, because as your washer's working, the tub's flopping around, that water pressure is changing, and so it just eventually it just wears this sensor out. So you can replace the sensor more economically than buying a new pressure sensor, because the APS is run about 130 bucks, depending on where you buy it. So the kit you can get for 39 or 50 bucks. It's more cost effective. You can repair it and then use the same circuit board. That's fine. But you just got to clip off these at the edge of the chip. You don't want to clip off too far over here because you could tear these pads off the board. So when you cut, you want to cut right against the chip here. That way, because you got the bends and the leads here that can relieve the stress down here. You don't want to pull these pads off. Now, I have had clients who have pulled the pads off, and they might use too big of cutters, and it might have put too much pressure on this part of the lead. But they got lucky because only 3 of the pins are used. The others are just to help to hold the chip on the board, okay? So if you tear off one that's not used, you're lucky, you know. But they've been lucky. If you tear off one of the 3 that's used, and you could take a piece of wire and jumper it over. You know, it's more of a repair. It's better to just clip it right next to the chip if you can. That way you got this relief for these bends, and it won't put too much pressure down here. Another option, if you heat this up, if you have a board heater, you actually put the board on top of it and it puts hot air out, and then it will heat up all these pads, or a hot air gun. if you could get it hot enough to heat all those up, then you can just lift the, it's probably the less stressful way to do it. It's just to lift that right off the board. I'll put the new one on. But the part number of this APS is W10415587. Okay, that's the Whirlpool part number. And if you do have the surface mount version, you can repair it. I've seen it in both versions. So Whirlpool made 2 different versions. I'm not sure what the particular reason was, but so PS8, you can check it. What you want to do is put the meter on there. I got the video on my FAQ page at F35error.com, and you take a reading with the washer powered down. It has to be plugged in, because when the washer is plugged in, you have the 5-volt supply inside that CCU. Okay, it's drawing a little bit of power, keeping that stuff up. And you can take your measurement, you turn the washer on, just power it up, don't start a cycle. And if that voltage changes, then it's probably the CCU that you need to repair. Okay, so the F35 Air kit should work for you. Now, if you take the reading and get, say 1.2 volts, which is way above our 0.38, and then it just sits there when you turn the machine on or off, it stays pretty close to that, then that's probably your APS that needs repaired. Okay, that's the kind of way to tell if it's the CCU or the APS. Okay. So if you have any other questions, please visit my F35error.com, and I also got my blog down there, neptunewasher.blogspot.com, and see if you can find more information on my F35, and we'll go from there. I also have an F01 air kit for your dryers. When you go to turn on your dryer, if you get an F01, check out F01air.com. Okay? Thank you. This is Jeff Hartman, the Neptune Man, and I hope I've helped you out today. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.